In ancient times, Grimwood was prosperous and at peace. That was until the siege of Chaldea. Malichias, the Endurian Scourge, resurrected an old general of Chaldea and commanded him to siege the city. With a horde of zombies and skeletons, Malichias and his new general marched into the city and stormed into the castle. There, the current Dragonheart, Deaton, did all he could to defeat the invasion. Unfortunately, both sides fell and the kingdom slowly began to fall into ruins. Centuries later, a new Dragonheart, Stratagas, was traveling the world to rebuild the lost kingdom and amass new loyal subjects before his sudden disappearance. With the Dragonheart missing, the three dimensions began to quarrel. One day, soldiers from the overworld began a desperate invasion of the Nether. After years of diplomacy, war had finally come to Grimwood. The battles would be devastating. The initial invasion of the Nether costing nearly 200,000 lives. As the war raged on, the political and philosophical end closed itself off from the other realms. Seeing the death and destruction of his homelands, a lone mage by the name of Malichias conceived a mighty gargoyle with the strength of 1,000 men to fight the Netherians. Turning the tide of battle in the overworld's favor, Malichias becomes a beacon of hope for the overworld and one of despair for the Nether. During a fearsome battle, Malichias was struck in the chest by a stray arrow. Dying on the bridge, his body was recovered by a soldier and taken back to the overworld. The soldier, laying the body to rest inside the ruins of Chaldea's crypt, usually reserved for honored generals, was none the wiser to the restless soul and the powers untapped within the crypt's walls. Malichias, his soul tormented by his unfinished work, tapped into these waves and eddies within the magic fabric of space and time. His soul reconnected with his body, raising the now decayed flesh to walk the grounds once more. Twisted by his thirst for the destruction of the Nether, his new powers allowing him to raise those once honored generals from their rest. Malichias had become a new Necromancer with a vengeful hatred for anything living. His minions stormed into the Nether, killing both overworldian and Netherian alike, converting more and more into his gruesome undead army. Extreme steps were taken in the Nether to defend against the unrelenting onslaught. Alchemists began to alter the very essence of their soldiers, infusing them with the traits of the mighty Hoglin. The very flesh of the people converted to pig-like hide. Tusks grew from their faces, ears elongating. The strongest of them were given battle axes of pure gold, brutes in their own right. Sending out their best fighters to the overworld in an attempt to confuse the overworldian soldiers, mages from the Nether began what they had feared to use, their final deterrent, their magnum opus. Without warning, the air of the overworld began to still, so much so that even the sound had ceased. Stillness drove many to madness. Still others would die of suffocation. What happened afterwards is only rumored by those who survived in the mountains. They say the air began to heat, first like a warm bath after a cold night out. Then it became uncomfortable. Then it was painful. When the soldiers had realized what was going on, it was far too late. The inferno razed the realm, incinerating every living thing not shielded by magic or stone. Cities burned down in seconds, castles in minutes, melted down until there was nothing left but ash and smoke. The people didn't have enough time to say goodbye to their loved ones and didn't have enough time to say farewell to friends. When the dust had settled and the inferno had burned itself out, the partially melted skeletons of families still huddled together could be seen in the center of their once standing homes. The world fell silent, and the survivors began anew in their safe haven, a cave within the mountains. This is where our story begins. Long after the war, long after the bloodshed, I have meditated for a century. I had pondered many things since my awakening. As Malichias died, had the curse been lifted? When pondered, I was left with only one logical explanation. No, Malichias still lives. My great-granddaughter's protection charm is still keeping me safe nearly 1,000 years later. I have seen two of the greatest wars to reshape Grimwood. I have seen death on a scale unlike anything that has been or will be seen again. And yet, there is so much more to learn. I am Moons. I have reawakened in perilous times by the hand of a vengeful spirit. My soul is linked to his. I know not what dangers may come in future days, nor what will happen with Malichias' defeat. My cloak covers my fleshless bones, my faceless skull. My soul radiates the green of my house's colors, my identity in this world. I am the guide to our heroes. I am their history and their future. Now, we must stop Malichias before he destroys the world.